Yeah, please do. Yeah. Do you want a microphone? Just pop that one there on. Pop that one there. There you go.
Okay. Is that picking up on the mic? So, the start of the new civic year is a chance, like the start of the calendar year, to do the whole New Year's resolution thing, except I don't even bother. There'll be a day when I give up smoking, stop swearing, have some discipline, and behave like a grown-up, but not this day. But let's assume that you have some discipline and willpower. And there's two things I want to suggest. First, that you reflect. What brought you here to do this? What have you done in your life that leads you here? That includes both things that would be counted as success and things that are apparently called teachable moments. And then secondly, moving forward, what are you going to do now? How will you be able to tell if you're achieving what you set out to do here as a councillor? How will you hold yourself accountable? So there's a code of conduct that all councillors sign, but as soon as something is imposed on us, it always feels a bit the wrong way round to me. It's like legislation to ensure that we meet EDI tick boxes. Our conduct and our inclusivity should be of a high standard, the highest standard, because it's the right thing to do, not because we have to. So my first thought of the new civic year is, how will you carry out this role in a way that you make sure you are doing what is right? Not what is required, what looks good, or what aligns with any other agenda, but that corresponds to why you are here, what brought you here. This place isn't about party politics or cheap tricks. You have the honour of representing people here without being distracted by politics. I think that's politics with a capital P. Does that sound right?
Yeah,
yeah.
That's right.
My grammar's not very good either. I hope you find it rewarding and life-giving, and that being accountable to the people of Newquay and to each other isn't something that is a tick box exercise for you. Peace be with you.
Thank you, Reverend Anderson. I know, follow that, right, exactly. Okay, so good evening, everyone. I'm Drew Creek, I'm the Mayor of Newquay, for those that don't know me, and I welcome you to this, the full council meeting of the 4th of June 2025. And before we get into the agenda, just a couple of pieces of housekeeping for all members. If you are able to and you're happy to, please stand when you are addressing the chamber. Secondly, fire escapes as you went down the stairs, that main door there, or just over on my left here out the double doors. And thirdly, it has come to my attention that there's been some filming in the chamber, which is absolutely fine, but please be aware, firstly, we actually film all these meetings online and they are shared online. Secondly, if we are going to film, please avoid filming members of staff and members of public, as it has been brought to my attention that this could be considered a breach of GDPR. And of course any guests as well. So that's just those couple of pieces of housekeeping, please. So number one then, apologies. I believe we have apologies from Councillor Williamson, Cornwall Councillor Parsonage. Anyone else? And potential co-optee Justine Taylor. Okay, thank you. Interests, which is item 2. If anyone feels they've got any interests with anything on the agenda this evening, please either make yourself clear now or as we approach that item, and we can take some advice from the clerk if you're unsure. We move on to item 3, which are the minutes of the last meeting, which was the first full council meeting of this civic year on the 14th of May 2025. I will assume that everyone has had the opportunity to review the minutes and has anyone got any queries around those minutes or any amendments to those minutes? Do they feel that they are a satisfactory representation of the conversation that was happened? I'll assume so. I'm happy to propose those. I have a seconder, Councillor Thompson. All in favour? Thank you. Any objections or abstentions? No. Perfect. Then matters of do we want to do the confidential amendment as well? That's fine. So matters arising, item 4. Does anyone have any matters arising from the minutes of the full council on the 14th of May? That's anything that was discussed in the minutes. Andy, did you have anything? There was something, wasn't there?
Just to confirm that an email has gone out to all the Cornwall councillors inviting them to these meetings.
Brilliant. Thank you. Yes, Councillor Kenny.
When I saw the wording of that, when it says, we insist that the Cornwall councillors come, I mean, you and I don't have much choice, but I hope you didn't say insist in your letter.
No, the clerk didn't say insist. But of course, we would like representation from all 4 Cornwall councillors that represent Newquay, as Joanna quite rightly points out. We don't really have much choice. And I know Councillor Tow's in the chamber as well, so thank you to Councillor Tow. And we have noted Councillor Parsonag's apologies. Okay, so item 5, community safety reports. And I will hand over to Inspector Johnson.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. I know there are some new faces in the room this evening, some familiar ones as well, but nonetheless some new. So just for those that don't know me or haven't met me, my name's Steve Johnson. I'm the Policing Inspector for Newquay and St Column. Obviously here this evening to talk about community safety and policing in general. I will try and answer any questions later on that you may have, or I'll try my best anyway. Some of you will have seen the figures that I produced, the crime figures that I produced for you, and I'll just spend a little bit of time explaining them to you because I know some of you may not have seen them before. So the first column on the first section there is the crime figures for this month. So that's the current period, or the month just gone, sorry, so May. The next column along is the figures for April, and the last column there is the percentage rise and fall. I know I've had this conversation with previous members, but I will say it again. Please be wary of the percentage figures. Some of them can look startling, but we are talking about relatively low figures, and in some cases really low figures. So in some cases 1 or 2 crimes can seem that we've gone up a massive amount. Nonetheless, you'll see the figures there, and I'll discuss some of them in a bit more detail in a second. The second page there is a bar chart, and that shows the 52 weeks of the year. So this year is the blue bar chart, and the yellow dots are last year's figures. So you'll see in a number of occurrences there over the last couple of months, we are actually lower in our crime figures than we were last year. And ordinarily at this time of year, I would expect us to be on a steady increase, which would appear natural to the sort of geography that we've got here. We're a holiday resort. Naturally, our crime does tend to go up in the summer. However, I'm pleased to see that that's not the case for May this year, so that is good. So just to talk about a few of those figures then, you'll see from that first page there are some noticeable increases. The first one being the rape offences, which, if you see the percentage figure, will cause some concern, and the fact that we've had a rise at all, similarly, will cause some concern. I do want to add a little bit of context to that. So our figures can rise and fall with those kind of reports, and that's because people don't always report at the time these offences occur. And actually, in this month, or the month just gone in these figures, that is the case with 2 of those. So they're offences that have happened up to 5 years ago in some cases. Naturally, they go on the figures for this month because they've just been reported. So they go on there and add to those figures. One of the other ones in there is actually an out of force report. So that means that the offence has happened somewhere else in the country. But because of the way that we record things, and quite rightly so, we take all the details when it's reported to us in Newquay or in our force. So we will take all of those details, ensure that we carry out the relevant safeguarding, make sure that we do all the victim care, etc., before we transfer it then to another force for their investigation, for location of suspect, etc. In the meantime, of course, it comes onto our figures until we can transfer that. There are two others in there which both have suspects attached, both been through custody. Obviously, I can't expand on that anymore. They're live investigations, so I'm sure you'll appreciate that. One of the other areas that I wanted to talk about was the bicycle thefts. So you'll see that's actually come down quite a bit, and that's because I think we had 6 in April and none in May. That was because we had someone in particular going around committing those kinds of offences. But just to give you the kind of a bit of an overview on that, we knew who was responsible. It was a matter of catching them and finding the property. And on one occasion we had a couple that were down here on a bit of a touring holiday, electric bikes stolen off the back of their camper van, in excess of £10,000 worth of kit. But we found them within 24 hours and they had them returned, so they left the county with a smile on their face, which is nice. It's not all the time we get that, so I'm pleased to see we are doing some things right, hopefully. That's kind of where we are as we move through. There was another thing that I will mention, and that's the criminal damages in there, and you'll see that that they have come down, but actually there was quite a few. A lot of those are from the graffiti aspect, and I know that local people within the local town, you will be aware of those damage and those bits of graffiti all over the town. There is quite a lot of work ongoing in the background with regards to how we deal with that and how we clean that up, and there'll be people in this room that are already aware of that, I'm sure. So we have recently carried out a visual audit, and there's bits and pieces going on in the background to try and tidy it up whilst we deal with the offenders for it. Slow progress, unfortunately, because it is quite difficult to deal with, but hopefully that provides an overview on that. Shoplifting's down, which is good, albeit on those figures that you see there from month to month, it doesn't reflect that. But over the last 6 months, we are down about 15% on our shoplifting offences. So that is positive, and that's as a result. I know I've mentioned it in this forum previously. That's as a result of finding those responsible. We're in a fortunate position at the moment where some of those people are being accommodated elsewhere, shall I say. So on to a couple of other things for you with regards to the summer policing plan. Hotspot policing is something I've discussed in this forum before, and that was a combination last year of street rangers that you'll have seen walking around the town wearing the red tabards. They have community safety accreditation, so they can deal with certain things and help us in many ways, and they do provide reassurance to the public, which is great, and many of the local business owners too. That was complemented last year with police, so we had police out on doing the same sort of thing. The funding has slightly altered this year, so we still have the street rangers, but actually the police are not funded for the rest of the year, but we are funded for 2 or 3 patrols during the main summer season, which is good to see, which is 8 weeks. So from the middle of July, they'll be back out again through to the middle of September. That complements other things that we're doing, obviously. Our summer policing plan is called Operation Marno, and that's looking at different funding streams where we can complement our foot patrols in the town, deal with all those public space protection orders, and look after antisocial behaviour. There's a little bit more free rein with them, so we don't have to stick to those hotspot areas, so we can guide them depending on what's happening on that day, which means that we might direct them to the beach, or we might direct them to the Killer Court, for example. So that's good as far as I'm concerned. It gives us an extra asset in different areas at different times. That is kind of my overview for the minute. I'll gladly take any questions and do my best to answer them, as I've already said.
Thank you, Inspector Johnson. Really appreciate you coming this evening. I know how busy you are. Councillor Jacobs.
I stand up, do I? Is this how we do it? Yeah, great. Is it on? Are we good? Yeah. Second time in the chamber. I'm just getting used to it all. So thank you for your report. I as probably most people in the room would feel quite very thankful for the job that you do. It is brilliant to know that we've got an active police force. The figures that highlighted there to me that I did want to ask a question though was about the rape offences. I also noticed on some of the local social media that there'd been reports of spiking in the clubs. And a few years back, I was involved in a project called Borough Angels, which was basically, it was a little bit like a Street Pastors. I'm not sure if you heard of it. Yeah. It was a voluntary project that basically tried to keep women safe during the night time. And I just wondered, because I'm sort of newer to knowing what is been happening in terms of policing in Newquay, what has happened in terms of like basically street safety for women? Have there been any similar projects and is there any appetite within the community to look at something like that? Because when you see 5 rapes, usually we know the figures that only 1 in 10, if not more, get reported anyway. So basically in May, 25 women were raped in Newquay. Probably, if you look at the statistics, that's huge, and that we don't know how many were a victim of date rape and other things. So it's something that I'm very, very close to my heart. Be very keen to work more closely on it. So yes, I just wanted to basically highlight that and ask a little bit more.
That's okay, and yeah, and I will answer some of those questions. So yes, by all means, please get in contact with me. That kind of pastoral support and contact in the street, particularly during the nighttime economy, would be really, really helpful, and would be something that I'd be interested in working with somebody on to try and facilitate that. That would be great. Just in terms of other bits and pieces then, so yes, we have had spiking reports, and what I would say is that social media ran away with itself a little bit, and there was quite a bit of speculation and presumption that came with that. So what I did was a press release about 2 weeks ago, and some may have seen it, some may not, and that outlined the work that we were doing in conjunction with the licensing team and the pubs and clubs around the town to try and keep people safe. Within that, I highlighted the fact that all the pubs and clubs have had training and they're aware of what their responsibilities are. They've got drink spiking kits, which they actually use the drink or the vessel that the person's drunk from, and that allows them to test that drink. We've got slightly different test kit, and our test kit allows us to do a urine sample. So that allows us to check urine, and they're effective for around sort of 3 days after. So we know that people don't always report it at the time because they don't feel very well. Perhaps their friends don't think about things like that. They want to get them to hospital. So we know that they're effective for 3 days, and we encourage people to come and tell us if that's the case, and we'll test them straight away. We did one the weekend before last. That came back negative, which is reassuring to the victim, hopefully, but we do that, and I'll gladly do that all day. I'd gladly do that all day. I'd rather people come and tell us that they suspect that that's what's happened, because it helps us build an intelligence picture. And if we subsequently test and we can't find those tests, by the way, test for a wide range of drugs. So I'd gladly do that all day to offer that reassurance to people. I know there's still going to be a natural worry with that because they obviously didn't feel very well and there was something wrong. But it helps us build that picture, and hopefully it does provide some reassurance. We do other things as well. I know before I've talked about Ask for Angela to provide a little bit of support around the local pubs and clubs. And we rolled out a little bit more of a media campaign around the spiking last week and the week before. There are people in this room that know we handed out those posters and those bits and pieces of material to the local pubs and clubs and I checked myself at the weekend, and some of those posters were up in the licensed premise. So it is something we take seriously. There is a lot of work ongoing in the background. By all means, if you've got other questions or you think of other questions later, then contact me. I can answer them for you. And yeah, and you can, if you've got ideas such as that pastoral care, then by all means speak to me. All right.
Thank you, Inspector Johnson. Councillor Thompson, then Councillor Kenny, please.
Thank you. Hi. Hi, yeah, I was just, it was sort of, I presume the area still includes Kingsley Village because that's where most of the shoplifting occurs, doesn't it?
For those figures?
Yeah, for these figures.
No.
Oh,
No,
it's been taken out now.
So these figures are for Newquay.
Oh, okay.
The boundary of Newquay.
Oh, so that's changed, but it
Yeah.
still includes St Colin Major. Is that
No,
because no?
no, those figures are for Newquay alone. It goes up to the boundary of St Colin Major.
Okay.
So
Okay,
we'll
so
go
that's
to the-
changed.
Yeah. So it will go up to Mountjoy and then across, and it will. So it covers Quintrell, but it would go across
Right.
from Mountjoy, and then St Colin's figures, Fradden figures, Indian Queen's figures are separate.
They're separate now.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, thank you.
But they're
Yeah,
not
'cause
great, I would say. They're not. It's not double what you see for Newquay, for example.
no. But it always used to be that it weighted, especially Christmas time. Kingsley
Yeah,
Village sort of
yeah.
weighted the figures. So
Yeah.
okay.
And Kingsley Village does have a shoplifting, not an issue, but it's a prime target for
Yes,
shoplifters, shall
yeah.
we say?
Well, it
And
would
that's
be.
something that we're working on with
Okay.
various people out there.
Okay. Thank you for that clarity.
Thank you, Councillor Thompson. Councillor Kenny.
Yes, I wanted to thank you for your support to the Pentire Residents Association in getting a temporary camera in Esplanade Road. It looks incredibly peaceful now. Now that's gone up, it has worked. I think we are looking to do a case for a permanent one there, which will have more already. I was going to say, do you think it's a good idea? And if you do, would you like to put it in writing so the committee who has to make the decision about the money knows?
Yeah, good. So you will know that I spoke to the Pentire residents with regards to this, and there was concerns raised about antisocial behaviour and possible drug use along Esplanade Road. So yes, I was very supportive of getting the temporary camera there. I think what we need to do with that is see what return that gives us. I'm fully supportive of having CCTV everywhere. I think it offers a massive amount of protection. It's really informative and can help guide my resources when I know that there's things going on. So yeah, I would be supportive of having them everywhere. I think it would be beneficial to have maybe a month or two's return on what they are seeing through that camera, what we've intervened at, what we've seen, what we haven't seen, etc. Because if we can demonstrate either a reduction in crime or we're being able to deal with crime and antisocial behaviour in a different way, I think that would help our case. But yeah, supportive, obviously.
Thank you. Any other questions? Yes, please, Councillor Adlam.
Hello.
Hello.
So it's my first time at a council meeting, so hello everybody. Just the street rangers, have they got power of arrest? That's one of my questions. No. Okay. CCTV, you just touched on it there.
Yeah.
Is it quite substantial in Newquay?
Yes.
In the main street area?
Yeah. So let's just go back to the other one for a minute. So Community Safety Accreditation Scheme, which is what they've got. So not all the street rangers in the various towns around Devon and Cornwall have got that. We've been fortunate enough to provide that course, and we can use, or the rangers have got that, and that allows them to obtain people's names and addresses, seize alcohol and those kind of things. And they've got lawful powers for doing that, and those powers are given to them by the Chief Constable. But they haven't got arrest powers. Other than every person arrest powers, they haven't got arrest powers, no. CCTV for Newquay, I can't emphasise enough how positive CCTV in Newquay is. We are, having worked in other towns, I mean, I've worked Newquay on and off for nearly 25 years now, but I have worked in other towns and cities, and I can't emphasise enough how amazing the CCTV in Newquay is. We've got the benefit, and people in this room know, we've got the benefit that they actually stationed at the police station. So their communication with officers is second to none. They know many of them, they speak to many of them, and actually they can move around and talk to us a little bit in certain areas of the police station if they've got, if they've got a reasonable reason to be there. They can come and tell us about things, and they help us build a really good intelligence picture. And quite often, officers will be out on the street, and the CCTV is so good that they can zoom in, get their shoulder number, and direct call them, so they can say that, for example, that chap in the red that's just walking away from you, he's the suspect. Great. So we can grab him, and then, and then we can piece it together afterwards. That doesn't happen in all the other towns and cities. There are towns and cities where there's a centralised hub, and you can't speak to them direct, and you have to request a review, and that can take 2 or 3 days later. We're getting it on a dynamic situation, quite often whilst we're dealing with it, and we've got the suspects there as well. So it's fantastic, and it covers all of town. There aren't many places in town that you can't be seen.
Sorry, no, just,
please.
Is it manned 24 hours a day then?
So, do you want me to just jump in there,
Yeah,
Stu?
sure.
So just for everyone's, just to bring everyone up to speed in terms of new members. So the CCTV team are actually employed by us, by Newquay Town Council. They are, and I would say this, wouldn't I? But I know you're going to agree, Stu, is that they are the best CCTV unit in Cornwall, and in fact they cover St Austell as well. And ably led by our CCTV manager, and you'll be pleased to know that as councillors you all have shared corporate responsibility for that unit, that CCTV unit, and I would encourage you to, if you haven't had the opportunity, to book an appointment in over the coming months to visit, because it's an amazing setup that we have there, and the team work tirelessly, and they really are doing a brilliant job alongside Inspector Johnson and his team, keeping our town safe. But sorry, please jump in. You had another question.
I was just concerned about the graffiti, really.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming that the CCTV would pick these people up.
Well,
it must be known to you. So why is it that we're still?
No, so it's not. So the CCTV cameras are all over town.
Yeah.
But it doesn't necessarily mean that they are focused in on a particular person at a particular time. They will pick things up, of course they will. But some of the graffiti is around the back of shops. Some of it's getting done at 4 and 5 o'clock in the morning, which I know kind of goes on to your previous question. But some of it will be 4 and 5 o'clock in the morning. Sometimes, because the cameras are 360, they swing around, so they can quite often, unfortunately, be pointing in the wrong direction, or if they're sat at their resting point because the camera operative is dealing with something, let's say on Narrowcliffe, for example, one of the other cameras in town might be sat in a resting position, which isn't necessarily in the right position for picking something up. So we can go back and we can review it, but then we're stuck with an issue where we have to try and zoom in, and then we can get grainy images because we're not zooming in live time, we're zooming in after the event. So, but that would you would see probably and understand a little bit better if you could see the CCTV room, which has just been offered, and I do think that would be a benefit to you. The 24-hour thing, which you asked about, it's not all the way through the winter, but I think we have just got funding for 24 hours through the summer, I think. And even if it's not, it's between like 5 and 8 o'clock in the morning where it's not manned. So it's relatively small compared to the rest of the time.
Thank you, Inspector Johnson. Did you want to come back, Councillor Adam?
It's just that the graffiti, it seems to be the same tags.
Yes.
On the same walls.
Yes.
All the time.
Yep.
So I've been walking around the back of the cinema. It's the same initials, same tags. It gets painted over, and it's the same tags again. These reappears. So those tags, as I understand it, are to a person, and I'm wondering whether we know that person, or the police know that person. Why don't we just go and arrest them because they're causing criminal
Well, we might know a
damage?
couple of those people, and we might have arrested them.
Yeah.
But and we're going through that process.
Yeah.
There is a tidy-up process, there is a clean-up process, which we touched on earlier. In the meantime, there's still other people that are coming through it. There's not one or two. We're probably talking 9 or 10.
Right.
Because, and if you go round, you'll see the tags. You know, if there isn't one or two, is there? There's 9 or 10. You know, so
Yeah.
so it
Just
it's not.
seems to be reoccurring all the
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
And as a new councillor, it's what people talk to me about.
Yeah,
Look at
of
that.
course.
And,
Yeah.
and, you know, maybe we need to focus on it a little bit. But thank you. Anyway.
Thank you. Any other questions before I let Inspector Johnson? Please, Councillor Hubbox. Just switch the red light off.
Hello. I wanted to ask about stalking and harassment.
Yep.
The number's 27, and I wondered if that's the same person going back for repeated, not necessarily one person, but is that multiple people, or is that 27 individuals who have reported it in the course of the last month?
Well, some of them will probably be the same person a number of times, but it will probably be. It's hard to say without breaking them all down. So there will probably be a number of repeat offenders within there, but a lot of them will be individuals. And yes, you're right. It does look a lot, doesn't it? And I know I've talked about harassment and stalking in this forum before. So stalking has just recently gone through a little bit of a change with the National Crime Recording Standards. So some of these offences would probably be crimed as other things, but because there is a course of conduct in the background, it falls into the harassment. Then if it becomes, then the question is that fixated or obsessed on a particular person? If the answer is yes, then it gets crimed as stalking. So we will see a natural rise in those recordings of stalking offences. That doesn't mean that they're any less serious, but obviously but that kind of explains the increase in them a little bit. So yeah, there will be a couple of repeat offenders in there, but generally they'll be individuals. Yeah.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you, Inspector Johnson. I really appreciate all of your time this evening, as always, and please pass your thanks on to our thanks on to your whole team for all that they do for our town. So thank you. You're obviously welcome to stay for the meeting, but there may be other places you want to be. I'm not sure. But by all means, please, if you want to leave, do so. Thank you. Okie doke. So we move on then to item number 6, which is open session for electors of Newquay. I don't believe we have any written questions. Do we have any questions from the public gallery? Anyone want to ask a question of the Town Council of something that's on the agenda here this evening? Lots of blank eyes looking back at me. No. Nervous eyes looking back at me. No. Okay. We'll say no. Okay. Moving on then. Item 7, correspondence. Do we have any correspondence? No, we don't. Okie doke. Item 8, Mayor's announcements. I will just go through a very short list of bits and pieces I've been up to just recently. I attended the L&K travel event on the Killer Court on Saturday, and that was a brilliant free event, and lots of activities and games and bits and pieces for all the family. That was a brilliant event, so well done to them for putting it on that wonderful community event. I recently attended the Youth Awards put on by the local Lions Club at the Kilburney. Really encouraged to be able to celebrate the success of many of our young people here in Newquay, and overcoming many personal challenges to get there. So it was a really inspiring evening. I've been having conversations just in the last week with Newquay Carnival. As you'll be aware, they're coming back this year after a break. So encouraged to see that and hope to work with them. I had a really, really good and thorough walk round of the whole of the town centre as Mayor of Newquay with Mark, the bid manager. On I can't remember which day it was, one day last week. We spent a couple of hours walking around the whole of the town, all the way to the Red Lion and the train station, and everything in between. Popped into many businesses, and it was great to get the opportunity to celebrate some of the fantastic work that Mark and his team at Newquay Bid do, and I note that they're up for ballot again this year, so really important that we support Newquay Bid because they're doing some brilliant work for our town. And finally, on Sunday I had the privilege of attending the Newquay Orchard 10th anniversary of their first opening, which I couldn't believe actually. It was a decade ago, but it was an absolutely wonderful event attended by many people, and there's been a mural commissioned on site for celebrating the 10-year anniversary. So if you've not been to the Orchard very recently, do pop along. It's looking absolutely spectacular at the minute, and it's got so much to offer our wonderful community here in Newquay. So do pop along there. And that, I think, is it for Mayor's announcements. Anyone got any questions on any of that? No, okie doke. So we move on to item 9, which is financial statements. These will have come out to you via email and have all been approved. So this is just for noting. Any questions on it first of all? No? Okay. I'm happy to propose those. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Thompson, all in favour? Many thanks. Any objections or abstentions? No? Good. And then we've got item number 10, which is the open session for Cornwall councillors' verbal, written or tabled reports. I don't believe we have any written or tabled reports, but we do have 3 in our midst, and I'll let someone else go first so you don't get bored of my voice. Councillor Kenny, would you like to start? Microphone, please, Councillor Kenny. Thank you.
Okay, so it's a pleasure to be here as Cornwall Councillor. So it's very early days in Cornwall Council, so I'm very much finding my feet. The obvious change from my previous years in Cornwall Council is how much more automated it is, particularly the use of Teams. So there's a huge amount of training they're providing and requirements for training in the first 6 months. I mean, I was going to say how useful is training to say, look at the agenda and read the papers before a meeting is arguable. Having missed having not read the agenda for the town team and having missed it, maybe that's training I should listen to a bit more. You'll have seen the new administration as a coalition of the Lib Dems and Independent Group. It's actually still a minority administration, but it's going on. There's going to be reasonable support from the smaller groups who keep their independence on particular issues. I'm going to say to Kevin, you know, I'm taking it that the Reform Group considers themselves the opposition. Cornwall Council is political. I don't think we should be political here, but Cornwall Council definitely is. So, as well as the local divisional issues and the overall strategic role for Cornwall Council, councillors serve on the committee, so usually aligned to their interests. So, no surprise, I'm on central planning. I'm also on the pensions committee because I'm fascinated by money. And a committee that is new to me but very much aligned to my interest in Newquay Harbour and our less than 10 metre inshore fishing fleet, I'm on CISCA, Cornwall Inshore Fisheries and Conservation Authority. And it's totally new to me, so I will be expecting to get a lot of advice and help from our harbour users. External to the company, to the council, I have been appointed to the Cornwall Airport Consultative Committee. I was going to say the old hands will remember we had hours of debate of that when the previous committee kicked Newquay and Colin off the committee, and we made such a fuss that eventually they came back and said, all right, Newquay, you can come back, but only if you select somebody of our choice. And they chose our clerk, who was absolutely fantastic, but it wasn't our choice, and that was the most appalling cheek. So I think it's got very moribund. You can tell me. I think it's got very moribund over the last couple of years. It seems to. There are other. I'm sure you've read of the other problems out at the airport. So the consultative committee they are talking now about reviving it. I'm already talking about membership. I'm saying Newquay needs to choose its own representative, even if it is the clerk. And we need to get Colin back onto it. So hopefully there'll be. Right, in terms of my division, we have an automatic case management system I absolutely love. You feed it into it, and in due course you get an answer, which normally there's no budget. So far my biggest post-park is, I'm interested in how the others are saying, is parking in all its forms, particularly the outsourcing of our car parks. I've got Belmont and Dane in mind. I raised the issue the first week, and I am due to talk to Corserve. That's been taken over by all I can describe as talks at the highest level about whether these transfers can be reversed now. I have no idea what they're saying or whether we can, but it's not, the one thing I have got confirmed, you'll like this, Andy, is that Town Head, if the outsourcing happens, Town Head will be transferred from Trevethe to Corserve, because despite the claims about Treveth and the outsourcing, it has not been the shining success in terms of that it was claimed for. The one in outsourcing exercise that seems popular is Pentar Car Park and the Headland, which is going over to the Cornwall Heritage Trust. I've been liaising with the relevant people. I'm pleased to say that they were really pleased that I told them we had this very, very rare Leitchland bio something or other. And Cornwall Council had completely forgotten about that. But they never forget completely, so they dug through their files and they found this wonderful report, and we've got sort of 2 square centimetres of this lichen, which is almost unique in the United Kingdom. The problem is, after the less intensive management of Pentar Headland we've had over the last couple of years, heaven knows whether it's actually survived. I've met on the Esplanade Green with representatives of PRA, along with Helen Fincham, our local CPA officer. It's been a tire strength, it's absolutely wonderful. And the officer responsible for land management. Can I say how grateful I am, and I mentioned before, to the town council and particularly Charity and the team for responding so quickly to, I passed the information on saying, can we have a CCTV camera? And she came back and said, how about Tuesday? I'm thinking, what? Councils do not usually work that quickly. And it would be very good if we can make this permanent, because it's a lovely little camera, but they're a bit inflexible, they don't move. And the idea is that you not only see Esplanade Green, where people are behaving so well now, you can see the beach and the sand dunes and Town Head as well. So I'm hoping that we will support a permanent one there. Another issue that was literally raised to me today is some dissatisfaction with the Tronance Play Park. Anyone's ever heard about that? I thought it was finished, but we've not had a grand opening. I've not visited it yet, but I'm getting reports of unfinished fencing, leftover holes, poor landscaping, wrong choice of landscaping. So at the moment I'm trying to see who's responsible and hopefully who's responsible for the snags, and we'll get on site and we'll see if the complaints are justified.
Thank you, Councillor Kenny. Yeah, 1 sec. So we'll go to questions. I'm going to ask the first question, which is if you can lobby for Newquay Town Council to have their seat back on the Airport Consultative Committee. I personally think it should be the mayor, but I'm open to suggestions. Other questions? Councillor Morris, Councillor Slade, and then are we allowed to go to the gallery for questions? Yeah, we'll go to the gallery for questions.
Sorry, the lady sat next to me meant to raise a question when you open to the public.
Oh, okay.
Point 6, I believe.
Well, we'll pop back in a minute. Is that all right? Thank you. So, Councillor Morris, then Councillor Slade, please.
The only question I've got is when are the ranks going to get done? Because the taxis are complaining that they can't get on because there's all sorts of private cars parked on there.
Are you talking about Esplanade, or are you saying that they haven't painted the lines?
No, I'm actually talking about the one in Central Square. The taxi rank in Central Square, you can't, it's not been painted, only part of it's been painted, and there's private cars parking all over the place on it, so we can never use it properly.
Regretfully, one of the many complaints I've got about faded WL lines and of course once they've got holes in them, they're no longer legal. So they're one of the classic things. There is a very small, very, very small budget for painting lines. We'll think about it and we'll get back to you. I will add that to the list. If you could send me an email, that would be great.
I'll get you instead.
Thank you. Councillor Slade, please.
Yeah, hi. Great to see you back on the Central Planning Committee. Years back, we were involved in a working party to deal with derelict buildings and derelict hotels in town. And again, we seem to be slipping into that problem again. In particular, the Bristol and the Narrowcliffe. It looks like a war zone as you come into town. And the Bristol, I think definitely with the way the slates and the tiles are hanging on the roof, once we start getting winds again, they're going to be dangerous. And also, like you've got Skerryvore on Island Crescent. Is there any way you can put pressure through planning or your role as Cornwall Councillor to ensure that the owners, if they can't start building straight away, at least demolish them, so at least we haven't got these half falling down buildings ruining the view of the town as people come in and out?
Yeah, some of those are subject to planning permission or pre-planning permission. Scaryville, for example, and I suppose the Hotel Bristol. I talked to John Drew, who's been the head of enforcement for as long as for as long as I've been on the council. So I go back to him and say, do you think we need to do the same sort of thing? I mean, what we did for Redford and everybody else is it wasn't me, somebody did a report on every building. And then we used to have regular meetings with enforcement, and you'd take an action plan, very like Nuki Safe really, but it was all based on derelict buildings. I think it was good. I think it did work, and it allowed us to let off a lot of steam. I'll go back to him and said, you know, with what's happening now, is there any future in starting something like that again? We need the resource though to do the report. You're not actually volunteering by any chance to. You might. Oh, well, go on. See, we've got a volunteer to do the report.
I will say just quickly, what we did earlier way back was quite successful. We did get a lot of the derelict buildings moved forward, so I'm up for doing that, definitely.
Thank you, Councillor Slade. Councillor Jacobs.
I'll be no surprise I've got a question on car parking. I guess my question was, what you said was that the question on can it be reversed is being discussed at the highest level of the council. As someone who's a new politician, and I just wanted to know, because I guess it's a very unifying issue, and that nearly every political party other than the administration all campaigned saying they were going to reverse the car parking, and that was the major political parties. So I can imagine there's going to be real unity in the county council chamber. Has it come to a full vote? Can it, should it, at least to show, because every person in that room will be representing the people who voted for them, to basically give a sense to the council officers of the strength of feeling of the new council, that I'm guessing every single one of those newly elected councillors, given they all campaigned for reversing car parking and sorting it out, will all therefore vote to stop this happening and stop it going to Corserve and keep it in public ownership.
I think the answer is if we were given the opportunity. I mean, I was absolutely furious when they pushed it through at the end of May. At the end of this council, they had a director signing it off, and it's subject to call-in. So I got some of my mates to actually try and call it in, and it came, oh no. I mean, the basis we used was they had no consultation on it, and they came back and said, oh, you didn't need any consultation because these are coastal assets, and you don't need any consultation on that. What? Yeah. So it was signed physically, legally, it was signed over to Corserve. They were served, but who weren't ready for them, which is why it's been the implementation of them putting their own signs up has been reversed to July the 14th, I think. When I say the highest level, I'm talking the leader, the cabinet, talking to the chief executive. They're basically saying, in theory, the contract exists, and you can't reverse a contract, except it's with our wholly owned considerate. And there is a break clause in 2 years' time, and I can't quote what people are saying, but effectively, in 2 years' time, what we really need, and what I was going to talk to Noah about, is we need a change in the law that stops councils being able to use cameras to control their own car parks. We're not allowed to do it. Town council isn't allowed to do it. I have no idea why that is the law of the land. I think it had been a reason millennia ago. I think it's probably just inertia that has not stopped changing it. So I was going to talk to Noah and said, what can you do to get the law changed? Because if by the end of 2 years we can say, hey, we can do everything they can do, if we can change the law in 2 years, that is, then we have a good case for reversing it. I was going to say, I know I've been told who pushed it through, and it was definitely member-led. I'd probably better not say who, but you can probably guess. So Yeah, I mean, we are doing everything we can to either reverse it or to remove the cause that says that it was a good idea to transfer it. But and Newquay has been really hit. I mean, I was not when they introduced this thing and they talked about it at cabinet. I mean, it was little car parks off and everything. It wasn't Belmont or Dane or Tregunwell Hill. I mean, it just wasn't. It wasn't Watergate. So it sort of came out of the blue.
Can I just come back one?
Yeah, sure, very quickly.
Yeah, again, it was just a wholly owned subsidiary, just for the public who don't... What control does the public have over a wholly owned public, like, what is it? Can you just explain it? And do we have any ability to shape what happens at Clonseth?
Right, I may have used the wrong terminology. Basically, Cornwall Council has set itself up with the core council and then a lot of independent limited companies who are totally independent. And a member of the board is a representative of the shareholder, and the shareholder is Cornwall Council, owns 100% of these. So, but the boards themselves are completely independent. And it's interesting because when we were talking about, well, are you going to keep the same hours for parking? And the response was, oh no, it was for disabled parking. Are you going to keep the same thing as today? And all Cornwall Council could say was, well, they're very nice people and they know what we believe in, so we think they will. But we are not in the Cornwall Council is not in the position of telling them what to do. And that's the problem, which is why I didn't like it.
Okay, just moving on. So, Councillor Tao, did you want to have a few minutes report?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And after 17 years, it's a bit of a culture shock to find myself sitting on this side of the wall. But I shall endeavour to do my best.
You are, of course, always welcome to join us in the chamber, Councillor Tao.
Thank you. I've been listening to Councillor Kelly's report, and I would mirror a lot that she's already said about the training and the induction. It's quite a heavy programme, as you know yourself, Mr. Mayor. I have had the usual requests and complaints regarding road traffic problems within the division. However, there is one part of the division which I feel is a little bit of a special case, and that is Nansledden. There is a section of road at Nansledden on William Hoskins Road, and the new section of the strategic highway, which is now open, which has made traffic considerably more heavy in the area. And looking at that section of road, I believe that there should have been some provision for a pedestrian crossing. There is no such provision at the moment, and I think a pedestrian crossing or two is too much for the local road traffic section of the cap. In fact, if I took this to the cap, it would eat up all the available budget in one go. So I am going to ask County Hall to step in with extra resources, and I would like the backing of this council in order to do that. Having spent 17 years on this council, I know that you can't give me that tonight. I know it has to go to committee, and I will be happy and willing to work with that committee over the next couple of weeks in order to put a case together for me to approach County Hall and see if we can sort this situation out. So back over to you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you for the opportunity of the report.
Thank you, Councillor Tao. I think we're quite happy to refer that one to the next planning committee, who will have a look at that and be in touch with you as soon as is practically possible. But my feeling is that there would be some reasonable broad support for that. Councillor Morris, did you have a question? Followed by Councillor Wright.
I've actually got two. First question, now that the Train Creek crossing has been shut, we've lost the 59 bus that goes through Train Creek. What's happening to it? And the question is, what's happening to it, if you know? And if you don't know, can you find out for us, please, and what the route's going to be? And the second question is, from the left-hand side, as you come past Pydar Close, going up towards Tretherris, there is an overgrown footpath. When is it going to be cleared?
Okay, thank you, Councillor Morris. As to the 59, I believe, although it doesn't go up into Train Creek anymore, it still comes up to Rice Drive. And there is a stop right at the top of Rice Drive, which is quite close to the other one. You're looking at about a 2-minute walk, and then it goes down and then up onto the new strategic highway. So that answers your question regarding the bus, and I will report the overgrowth section to the County Council when I get home tonight.
Thank you. And just to remind you, Councillor Morris, and all the councillors in the room, members of the public and anyone watching at home, there's a really, really brilliant website on Cornwall Council's, page on Cornwall Council's website, and it's the Report It page. If you Google Report It Cornwall, it will come up, and you can report that verge there. Councillor Wright.
Thank you, Councillor Creek. Thank you, Councillor Towell. So this is just referring back to your point about the Nansledden Road. I was contacted earlier today from some residents, which I'm sure you're probably aware of, but just in case. So a consultation was done before the road was open to have the stretch of road that actually runs through the Nansledden residential area, for that to be 20 miles an hour. And now that the road's open, it's actually 30 miles an hour. And people are very concerned about that. So I'm sure you're probably aware of that, but I just thought I'd raise it whilst I had your time. Thank you.
Thank you. I was aware of that, and I have asked questions at County Hall about why there was seemingly a change overnight, because it was mooted that it would be a 20-hour mile-an-hour road, as you say, and then there was a change without adequate consultation. So I will find out the answers to that and make those answers public.
Thank you. Councillor Thompson, last one then.
Yes, thank you, Councillor Tao. Again, on the roads there in Nansledden, at the interim planning meeting that we were at last night, there was consultation that came through with the junction of the new road just above the recycling centre opposite the Tretherris School entrance, and the changing of signage there and changing of the road junction, but they hadn't made it clear. So I'm hoping that our planning officer got in contact with you in terms of the queries on this, because the consultation's got to be in on the 6th, and we didn't feel that we were in the position to really fully reply because we hadn't been given all the details. So I'm really keen if you can go back to highways and the consultation team on that section of road outside Tretheris and how they are changing the junction, because the layout of the junction of the new road coming onto that doesn't give the signal that it's going to be a continual road going off, and I'm presuming a road junction then can continue on past the recycling centre. It's not clear. And again, it's 30 miles an hour coming out straight opposite the school, and apparently there's chaos out there at the moment if you're going along that way, because you can't pull out of the junction when all the buses and everything, traffic's coming out from Tretheris School car park. So it's definitely an area that needs working on, and hopefully, you can chase up on that we need longer time to be able to consult on it properly. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Thompson. Councillor Town.
Thank you, Councillor, and I have already made my feelings to those responsible at Council Hall quite plain that they've had long enough to plan for these changes, and yes, it seems to have taken them by surprise, both with the new strategic highway and the closing off of the section up at Train Creek. Both seem to have come out of the blue, which of course they haven't. They've been planned for many years, but you wouldn't know it. So yes, I will definitely take that back and add those comments to Council Hall. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Tower. Yeah, and just to know, I believe I was told the other day the Newquay strategic route had been in planning for 20 years. So, not very much time to deal with those issues. I'm conscious of time, and I know we've got a member of the public waiting to ask a question, so I'm going to canter through very, very quickly, sharing, aligning myself with the comments of Councillors Tao and Kenny around the induction and training programme at Cornwall Council, which is very thorough. And for those of us that aren't particularly planning au fait, pretty tricky, I'd say. I'm pleased to have been allocated to the Health and Adult Social Care Oversight and Scrutiny Committee, along with the CEO Employment Committee, and then substitutes on a number of other committees, but particularly pertinent and interesting to me, Together for Families, Oversight and Scrutiny as well. So I look forward to being on those. I've raised many issues in my first few weeks at Cornwall Council. I'll start with car parks, as Councillor Kenny's already. Sorry, I'm going to be careful what I say because I'll get myself in trouble. But in fact, what I'll do is I'll give you the highlights of what I asked for. I basically emailed the office and asked for the decision around, as I mentioned, the decision around the 20 car parks, and wanted a copy of the contract. Asked if it had been ratified by Cornwall Council, had they been actually handed over to Corserve at this point, what are the terms of the contract and what are the opt-outs, can the decision, which if it has not been ratified, be stopped or reversed, what opportunities does the contract allow for devolution of car parks during its contract period to town and parish councils, and can I please get a copy of any and all agreements relating to the car parks? I was told no. Under no uncertain terms, as it was being dealt with at the highest levels, as Councillor Kenny said. So I did ring the leader of the council and had a conversation with him, and as I understand it, he is looking into it, and I hope, I'm encouraged by the conversation that we have, and I hope that there will be some good news at some point, though we await confirmation of that. And I made it really clear, actually, that the town council was happy to take all of them if they're too much bother for Cornwall Council. I had walk-rounds with Cornwall Council officers and Cormac regarding the boating lake and the associated intermittent fountain, which has been problematic for many years, and was horrified by the tens of thousands of pounds that we were spending on the fountain over the last few years. And just to give an update on that, it is currently in for repair, and the repair is a very, very expensive one. So they are currently looking at options for that. I was really interested in the long-term future of the boating lake, wanted a sustainable solution that didn't mean that it was constantly silting up, being scraped out. Obviously, there's impact on biodiversity. Obviously, there's impact on the Gannel as well. And I asked questions around the feed-in streams to the Gannel and whether areas such as the developments at Proud Park and in other areas that are leading or potentially leading to issues there, and that remains to be seen. I did ask if there is regular water quality testing, which I'm told that we don't do, but the Environment Agency may do, but no one's really quite sure, and there's not really a baseline. Had a conversation, Councillor Tower was there, around Proud Park and some land there. I raised with senior leadership at Cornwall Council around the airport spaceport, wanting a full and thorough investigation and inquiry into the activities at the spaceport and airport over the most recent time, with the controversies that you'll all be aware of, and including the judgments that were handed out this week from the Code of Conduct issue that Simon Mansell released. I await a confirmation as to whether that will happen. I've also asked for clarification on the future of the airport in regards to the fact that Newquay taxpayers are subsidising, broadly speaking, not completely, but broadly speaking, business owners and second homeowners in Cornwall utilising airport air travel to get to and from Newquay to their second homes and businesses. Devolution, I've been pushing forward for the Town Council devolution of the ambulance station, Mount Weiss Gardens, the youth centre at Chester Road, and have had some fair assurances on those. I've also been pushing forward for other areas of devolution for the Town Council that I can't really mention, but what I will say is potentially an opportunity for grassroots sports within our community, which I'm really excited about. Not only the car parks that were or potentially have been handed over to Corserve, but I've asked for all the car parks. Land management and verge management, I've been asking officers, and I had a nice walk around with the guy from Cormac and had a conversation with another officer at Cormac and an officer at Cornwall Council about that, and how actually if we were to tidy the edges of the verges, wouldn't that look much better. I said I'm less worried about the length of the grass and more worried about the fact that it looks unmanaged. Many other things. My favourite this week was dealing with many issues that residents have brought up, but my favourite was an upside down 20-mile-an-hour speed camera in my ward, which had been put up, which was obviously by mistake. We got that rectified though, you know, the power of local democracy. So those, I think, are all of the main issues, and I'll happily take any questions from anyone on the floor. Or indeed in the gallery. No questions? Well, that was easy, wasn't it? Thank you. So we'll move on then. So I'm happy to go back to item number 6 on the agenda, which was the open session for electors of Newquay. And I understand we have a member of the public with a question. Please come down to the microphone where Councillor Towe sat there. If you press the button, the red light will come on, and you can ask your question. Councillor Kenny, quickly.
Technically, we've always opened and closed the meeting for public questions. Do we no longer do that? Thank God for that.
Chair's discretion. Councillor Brooke.
If we're going to change an agenda item, can we just have a quick vote on it?
We don't need to. It's chair's discretion.
Okay. All right.
Yes, if you can give us your name, and then if by all means ask your question.
Hello everyone, I'm Joe. Sorry I missed my slot. It's to add some weight to the Nansledden issue that's been raised by a couple of people, but I live on the Railton side of Nansledden, so I have to cross the roundabout to come in. And I have kids at the nursery, and it's getting really dangerous. We've got a 30-mile-an-hour road right by a nursery entrance. There's disabled people, visually impaired people on my side of Nansledden that get in their cars to do 2-3 minute journeys because they daren't cross the roundabout, because you cross, you come to an island and then you cross again. So people that can't predict indicators, and lots of children, it's out here to stress how dangerous it's getting. So if we can push something through. I don't think zebra crossings would be enough, and I don't think 20-mile-an-hour speed reduction, as much as that is needed, would be enough. It needs to be traffic light crossings to stop traffic, and I'd say it needs at least 3. It needs 2 on the roundabout, and then 1 outside the nursery. I appreciate it's expensive. I appreciate there's a long list, and I'm not au fait with how these things work, but I came in person just to stress to you all how seriously dangerous it's getting, and I would hate for this to be retrospective after an accident's happened.
Thank you. You okay if I call you Joe?
Yeah.
Thank you, Joe. So thank you for that, and I think we've all heard that. I know that we previously said we refer it to planning, but I think given the the sense of urgency that there clearly is around this, I think if everyone's happy, I would be happy to propose that we write to the CEO of Cornwall Council, the Highways, the Director of Highways, Jack Thomas, and the leader of the council to add our weight to the calls that Councillor Towell has made around the safety in that area, and thank you to Joe for bringing it to our attention. I'm happy to propose that. Does anyone want to second? Councillor Brooke was the first I saw. All in favour? Unanimous. Thank you very much. That is local democracy in action. There you go. Look at that. Thank you ever so much for coming, and we will aim to put some pressure on Cornwall Council to get that sorted as soon as possible. Thank you. Anyone else got any questions while we're there? And then we'll switch back. Okie doke. So we're moving back on now to, where are we? 11. So the annual external audit and year-end accounts. And I believe this is you, Anne, our RFO.
Evening, everyone. I've kind of bombarded you with a large amount of documents in your on IBABS this time. I've added a few extra ones that I thought you might be interested in. So the first section in 11A gives you the balance sheet and income and expenditure accounts by department and by committee. They are straight from our accounts package and detailed, and provide all of the detail to budget for each one. I'm not going to go through them because they can be rather large documents, but essentially the first one is a detailed list of what the annual return is. The second one gives more detail by committee, so it shows you the expenditure by committee, and the third one is the balance sheet, and my iPads has just closed, so I just need to reopen it, sorry. 11B is a breakdown by committee of the EMR movements and balances for you at the end of the financial year that matches the end year account. So I wanted you to have that list, and obviously that gets provided through the committees as you go along, so you know what your balances are in your EMRs. 11C is your fixed asset movements for the financial year, which show the difference in the accounts. So they're all figures and paperwork that back up the accounts, which is where we're getting to in the end. 11D is the internal audit report, which is included in the statement of accounts also. So there's the final report and then his report that goes onto the accounts as well. So there's those two. 11E, there is a requirement for councillors to comment and ensure that if they have any conflict of interest with BDO LLP, who are our external auditors, that they should highlight that. I think you would know if you did, but if you do, can you please let us know? And we will include it on the form. Otherwise, we will tick that there is no interest for the council and sign that back. So is there anybody that thinks they might have an interest? No? Okay. And then the next one is your actual annual governance statement. So the first report, I'm just opening. What I thought it was really important to do is, as councillors, you're responsible for ensuring all of the statements within that are signed off, that it's your responsibility to do that. So you have to read through and be able to say that these have been achieved or not achieved. And I thought how that's done throughout the year is councillors are invited in to carry out like mini audits, their assertion reviews, where they get to go look through paperwork and check things for themselves. But I felt there's quite a number of new councillors that haven't been part of that for the last year, because we're looking up to the end of March. And also some of the councillors that have been around a bit longer, I've talked through the processes. So I created this document to kind of give you a bit of a background about what you're doing, why you're doing it, and things like that. So hopefully you've all read through it and you understand it all. If you've got any questions, let me know. But essentially, I would recommend that the controls are in place as a council, and we have complied with the things that we should do in terms of the practitioner's guide for the year-end accounts. So the next document in 11F is the actual form, and it's up for you as a council to agree that you would be happy to tick yeses in boxes 1 to 8. Number 9 is not applicable. But if you have any questions, that's why I did the detailed document for you to read through, because obviously this is a council as you as councillors.
Thank you.
Needs to be approved.
Yeah, no, thank you. That's really helpful context, Dan. Thank you. And I do appreciate that for the new members in the room, this may feel quite daunting, and it looks quite daunting, let's be honest. So this is about assurance, guys. We as councillors are to essentially agree and sign this off, saying that we are in agreement with all the statements in section F. So if you have questions, now is the time, and I'm sure Anne will answer those for you. Councillor Kenny.
Yeah, I don't have any. I think fantastic set of papers, and it does make it all very clear, and I have no problem at all assigning anything. I just wanted to ask a question on the income and expenditure account. So I always get mixed up with my minuses and my possible. Where it says current annual, is that the budget? No, I'm looking at much earlier than that. As you shot through, it's the second financial report in 11A. That's the one, yeah. So where it says current annual, that is the budget, is it?
Current annual, yes, is the budget. Oh, sorry, my speaker wasn't on. Yes, that's the budget.
So effectively, and I'm getting mixed up, but is that saying that we are £500,000 below our budget, total budget?
At the end?
Yes.
For GNR, let me look.
No, for the whole council.
Oh, let me go down. The answer will be yes. We were under budget by that sum.
Even though our income appears to have gone down. Why has our income gone down?
So we had some grant funding last year, but essentially our income, it was more to do around the expenditure being way lower than we actually budgeted for. There are some documents that will go to GNR, whereas at the next GNR meeting, that explain the differences and the reasons behind the budgeted variance to what we expected at our budget to our actuals. Because one of the things that this year-end account does, and the auditors are interested in, they're looking at actuals from one year to the next. And actually, we increased our budget because we had quite a few things that we wanted to do. And I wanted to go back, and luckily I've had a chance to do that with some of the help that I've got now. I've got more time, and I've gone through and I prepared a document that explains all of the differences for councillors. So a lot of that money is for projects that hadn't been able to come to fruition yet, and that's been put back in reserves. But I can explain a little bit more on that on some of the other documents should you wish. If you look at the EMR movements and balances, that document, you can see in each committee which amounts have been transferred back, and you can see some of the areas that things were transferred back for. And like I said, for GNR, there's a list of projects and more information around those movements for you.
I think it's fair to say that staff capacity has been an issue in the last year, and why we've had conversations that we've had recently around that. Thank you, Councillor Kenny. Any other questions? So what I'm proposing to do then is take items 11A, 11B, 11C and 11D on block. Do I have a proposer for those? Well, I'm happy to propose those, frankly. Do I have a seconder? Councillor North. All in favour? Any objections or abstentions? No, thank you very much. And then 11E. This is the Newquay Town Council conflict of interest with BDO accounting. Does anyone have a conflict? No. I'm happy to propose. I have a seconder. Councillor Wright. All in favour? Many thanks. Any objections or abstentions? And then 11F. And this is the really important one, because this is the one that I will put my signature on, if we all agree, is items 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 and 8. Is that right? Yeah. I am happy to propose those. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Morris, do you have a question, or are you seconding? Seconding, okie doke. So just to remind everyone, we are voting to agree to the items in 1 to 8. I've proposed, Councillor Morris is second. If you are in favour, please raise your hand now. Many thanks. Any objections or abstentions? No. Thanks, guys. That means I have to put my signature on it. And then 11G, I'm happy to propose. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Wright, all in favour? Thank you. And we haven't got any 11H. Is that okay, Anne?
Thank you very much.
No, thank you. I shall sign the document now. Okie doke. So moving on then to item number 12, Councillor Morris.
I put myself on the interim planning committee because I was expecting you to put me onto planning. I'd like to go on planning as a full member, please.
Okay, let's go back to item number 12, which is the selection working party recommendation. So this is where a member, myself, the deputy mayor, is that right? The previous mayor and 3 members of the council, randomly selected for political balance, met to discuss, I think we actually did it via email, didn't we, in the end, the selection of seats for each of the committees on the town council. Just a reminder, those committees are community and tourism, environment and facilities, planning and licensing. And the recommendation from that working party you'll find in your pack under item 12. Councillor Morris has raised a query around planning, which we'll pick up in a moment. And then under working parties, you'll note that the CALC representative is the town clerk and Councillor North. The appeals panel is Councillor Kenny and Councillor Carter. And the community network, or the CAP, I should say CAP really, shouldn't it? Community Area Partnership. We haven't changed that, have we? Community Area Partnership member for Newquay Town Council, which is the only one voting member that we get as a town council, is Councillor Thompson, who happens to be the deputy mayor, with substitute members Councillors Kenny, Carter, Wright and Hubbox, should Councillor Thompson not be available. So that is that with its bells and whistles. So do we need to deal with Councillor Morris's request before we vote it in yet? Okay. Are we happy that Councillor Morris becomes a substitute on planning? You want to be a full member on planning?
I'll do 2 committees. That's the reason why I said. I actually said to Andy that I'd be happy to do both committees. So full member, please.
That's fine. So I'm happy to move you into one of the vacant spots, and we'll deal with the consequences of that later. I am happy to propose that. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Slade. All in favour of that? Well, thank you very much. That's unanimous. Lovely. So we do have some vacancies. Once we've gone through our co-options this evening, is it you and I, the clerk and I, meet to discuss those? Yeah. So if you're happy, then the clerk and I will take delegated authority from the council to allocate the remaining seats to the new councillors once they have been co-opted or indeed elected for the fourth member. There is another vacancy coming up. So if you're happy for that, could someone propose that for me? Councillor Morris, second. Councillor North, all in favour? Thank you very much. Happy with that? Perfect. So then, item 13, which is Newquay Town Council issues. I don't think there's anything on there, but has anyone got any Newquay Town Council? Councillor Morris.
Sorry, I've been quite active.
You are, but you're welcome to stand rather than squat.
Right.
There you go.
I've had it brought to my attention. They'd like to know what's happening with the Keogh statue. I know it's been going on, we've been having it for about 4 years. Where is it? What's happening to it? And if we can we at least have an update on ENF?
Yeah,
please?
absolutely. So, firstly, who is they? They want to know.
People I've had members of the public.
Oh right, okay, very good. So I can tell you exactly what's happening with it. At the moment, it is in Newquay. It's sat at Ace Engineering, I understand, in Newquay, and it is essentially ready to go in the ground. We are in a position where our lawyers and the foundation lawyers are finalising some details around the, be careful what I say here. Yeah, you step in.
Yes, so we are finalising the paperwork right now as we speak. I believe that's going to be finished this week. We've already had on-site meetings with our Environment Service Manager. They have gone through some details around drainage, etc., as you would expect. And I think we're now very much waiting on selecting dates for install around bookings on the Killer Court and obviously avoiding the peak summer period. So we are literally at the last step now.
Very good. And I note from the EMR we have spent a chunk of the original agreed £20,000 installation costs. So presumably we've dealt with that with the foundation. Good. Any other? So that hopefully that answers your question and your constituents' question, Councillor Morris. Does anyone else have any Newquay issues they want to raise before we move on? No? Okie doke. So we are then on to item 14, which is the co-option of the vacancies, of which we currently have 3. And wouldn't you know it, we have had 8 applications. Where were you all a couple of months ago, you know? But unfortunately, one of the applications has what's the word I'm looking for? Withdrawn, that's it. Withdrawn their application, so we're down to 7. So your chances just got better, guys. And Councillor John Fitter. Sorry, not Councillor, ex-Councillor John Fitter. I can't not call him Councillor John Fitter. It's just... Oh, okay. So we have, excuse me. So firstly, we have 6 members in the chamber. One, as I understand it, is out of the country, I think, on work, and so has sent a written statement, which, as it doesn't explicitly say in the policy that we cannot, that they have to be in the chamber. I'm happy, if you're happy, that the clerk reads out the statement. Of course, then we will go through a round of voting, and the clerk will take you through the detail of that. Though I have it printed in front of me, you know it much better than I do. Once we've had an opportunity to hear from the 6 members in the chamber and the 1 statement to be read out. Firstly, I think I'd just like to say that putting yourself forward for town and parish council as councillors, as Councillor Anderson alluded to at the beginning, you know, is one of the best things that you can do for your community. And given that it is a voluntary role that is unpaid, it doesn't go, without a lot of thanks from all of us in the room that you've put us forward, and indeed the community thanks you as well. So we'll start there, and then we'll move on to members. Sorry, I've got ahead of myself. Not quite members yet, are they? Co-optees, potential co-optees coming forward, and we'll give you a few minutes for a short statement, followed by a minute or two for member questions. And members, please, if we can keep it short and sweet, we do need to make sure that it is a balanced process for everyone, and what we don't want to be doing is questioning one candidate for 10 minutes and another for a minute, because that wouldn't be fair, and I want this to be an absolutely proper procedure as it should be. So I'm going to go in the order in which they are on my screen, which, as I understand it, is the order in which we received the applications. So I will invite Catalia Norman to the microphone at the front. If you want to press the button, the light will come on, and then the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you. Hello, everybody. Good evening. My name's Catalia, but please call me Cat for short. It's much easier to remember. Just to tell you a little about myself. I was born and raised here in Cornwall. I attended Camborne School. I'm half Thai. But my dad is from Penzance, so all my family are in Penzance and Newlyn area. I spent 16 years living out of the country. I spent 10 years in Spain, where myself and my husband, we opened a pool bar and then a restaurant. We also tried a satellite company and a fish and chip shop for a little while. So after 10 years in Spain, we then moved to Portugal, where we wanted a change of life. It's where we first had our first child. So we moved to Portugal and we opened a surf shop. This is called Mother Surf. It's an eco-friendly surf shop. We only supply materials that are eco-friendly. They have to be sustainable in some way. We won't have it in the shop otherwise. So we opened this store in a town called Ericeira in Portugal, which is actually a World Surfing Reserve. So we spent a lovely 6 years there, and then we came home just over a year ago, back to Cornwall, and we chose Newquay since it's the centre of surfing here in the UK, but also to be close to our family and for our young children to grow up and know what it's like to be Cornish. So now we've moved here, we're in Newquay. We are tenants of the cafe unit on Killicourt. So maybe I've met a few people. So we have our eco-friendly surf shop there, Mother Surf, and then it's also like a takeaway style food and drinks. And since moving to Newquay, I've also joined the Newquay Climate Action Group, which has been really interesting for me. And that's actually what's opened the door for me wanting to be a part of the council and be involved more in the community. So why do I want to be a councillor? I see myself as an honest person. I have good morals and I'm compassionate. As a mother with a young family and also a business owner in the town, I only want the very best for Newquay and the future of Newquay. I want it to be the very best it can be. I want to contribute to the community and be a part of it. That's something that we found we were missing whilst living abroad. We could never be a real part of the structure of the community. It's something that we were always held back from. So it's nice for us to have an opportunity to do that. Sorry. Also for me personally, for personal growth, I want to be a part of the change that I want to see in the world. You know, I want to contribute what I can and hope that I can help the town in some way. And I also am very interested in learning how councils work, how the protocol is. Yeah, I find it very interesting. What can I offer? I think that my experience of living in foreign countries has maybe given me like an outside kind of view although I hope you don't see me as an outsider, because since I've been growing up here, I feel like I knew Newquay before how it used to be 20 years ago, and it's been really nice coming back. I think it's a much nicer town now. It's much more family friendly, and the community feeling has been amazing. Like my husband and myself have felt quite overwhelmed at times at how nice the town is and how supportive. So yeah, I think I've got fresh eyes, but also with some sort of hindsight. I'm very proud of being Cornish, so I value the Cornish traditions, and I think it's very important to keep that alive. I also have a lot of ideas and enthusiasm. When I would come home from our climate action meetings, I was always buzzing with ideas, and you know, for me, it really gets me worked up and gets my juices going. So I find it very exciting. My personal interest in sustainability means that I would be looking for ways to future-proof Newquay and to maybe bring it up to par in terms of sustainability in the initiatives that we've put into the town. For example, the plastic-free communities with Surfers Against Sewage. Some community sharing initiatives. There's some really great ideas that I've just seen recently that I think would work perfectly here in Newquay. And also the fact that it is a surfing town, and I would really like to see Newquay on the international surfing map. I think it has every opportunity to do that. There's things like the World Surfing Reserve, like the town that I came from in Portugal. And I think that it would be beneficial for the town to raise its profile and put it on the international map, because we've got such great talent coming as well. There's a lot of young surfers in the town that are doing very, very well, and they're being recognised. So, yeah, that's a personal interest of mine. I think that's everything. Thank
Brilliant.
you.
Thank
you for your time.
Yeah, okay. So, thank you very much. Questions from the floor, anyone? Councillor Kenny.
Welcome. A very interesting background. Just looking at your form, why do you select Trenance Ward and not Whipserdary?
Only because that's the area that I am more often, because I'm based in Killiquart and there every day. I just thought the Trenance area I know better than Whipserdary, but to be honest, it could be Whipserdary as well, if that was the option. It's not necessarily a preference. I just thought that's the area that I'm more familiar with.
So, sorry, are you asking to be either on Whipserdary or Trenance? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, it could be.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know if is that proper?
It's unusual, but the council can decide to accept that, and you can consider it when you go to the votes.
Okay. So does anyone have any objections to that? No? Yeah, okay. Councillor Jacobs, did you have a question?
Yeah. It was a question just to the chair. This just for my own awareness. Do we, because is that on? Yes. Sorry. Because these are co-opted roles, do we ask or need to know if people are a member of a political party?
You don't have to ask. You don't need to know, but you may wish to ask that question.
Okay. I think I'll just ask every candidate that then. If people in the room would be happy with that, or
Yeah, I mean, completely your prerogative, Councillor Jacobs.
Are you a member of a political party? And
No, I'm not. I would be coming as an independent. Sorry, I should have added that.
No, that's just. Thank you.
Thank you. Maybe for other co-optees, given that I'm going to preempt Councillor Jacobs' next 5 questions, if you wouldn't mind being upfront whether you are a member of a political party or whether you are an independent, that would be useful. Thank you. Any other questions for this co-optee? Did you have something else, Councillor Jacobs?
No, just to say, any voting that I'm doing is purely on people's CV and what I think they'll bring to the town. It's just about kind of openness and transparency, if that's okay. I just wanted to put that on record.
Right. Okay, that's fine. Okay, so I don't think there's any other questions. So thank you very much for your time. We'll invite the next co-optee up, which on my list would be David Cole. Just press the button. Yes, there you go.
Hi,
Floor's
my
yours.
name's David Cole. Independent is the answer to that question. It's my firm belief that the people you intend to represent in the town actually know the person who's going to represent them. They should know my background, know my work and life experience, and know my capabilities. It shouldn't be all about politics. So this is me. I'm 66 years old, originally from the Cotswolds, living in the village stores and post office there, and then moving down to Newquay when I was a teenager with my parents back in the good old 70s. I have now lived in Newquay for 49 years. My parents ran a 10-bedroom hotel in the town centre where I mastered the art of waiting on, whilst I studied an OND in business studies at Cornwall College in St Austell. From there, I enjoyed a successful 13 years in a state agency here in Newquay, where I learned to be a professional businessman. I became office manager at 23 years of age, handling the sale of hotels, guest houses, and there were plenty then, shops and businesses, as well as new homes and residential properties in and around the Newquay area. Being a community estate agent, you really get to know a town, and I have witnessed all its changes. In my early 30s, I then started a family surf retail business, Fistral Surf Company, which quickly grew to 3 stores in the town, 3 in Truro and 1 near Plymouth, employing 55 people at its peak. We also ran 2 cafes and a surf wholesale business. After 18 years of trading in the surf retail and cafe sectors, experiencing that huge surf boom, I returned to the property sector and started my own property development and project management business. I have undertaken high-quality, sustainable property development projects here in Newquay, the Padstow area, Porthtown and St Ives. I have also handled significant site acquisitions for national developers here in Newquay and other parts of the county. I'm a family man. I have brought up 4 children who have all been educated in the Newquay schools, namely Trynance, Edgecombe and Tretheris. My 6 grandchildren are currently attending local nurseries and schools. I have played various sports in the town, and my son Alex has been part of the recently promoted Newquay Football Club. In terms of what I could bring to the town council, I believe my diverse and commercial experiences and managing at boardroom level will be helpful in working with the town council and any commercial-based organisations at local and national level, whilst my property-based expertise could be very helpful in this critical home building period the nation is addressing at this current time. I have an independent style by nature, and I work on a no-nonsense, common-sense basis. I am a very good listener and a fast learner. Once I'm tasked with something that makes sense, I get it done efficiently and expediently. The fact that I have no previous council experience enables me to bring a fresh approach to the team at a time when the world is changing rapidly and new processes and protocols will be needed. Here in Newquay, the most noticeable change is the population growth. When I first came to the town, the population was around 15,000. I believe it is now around 25,000 and forecast to rise to almost double that in the next 2 decades. This massive growth requires serious future planning across a full range of local services and town infrastructure. And this area of future planning is where I feel my talents will be best placed. I know this town, I know its history, its heritage, its culture, I understand it, I love it, I can see where it's heading, and I believe I can help a progressive team take it forward successfully. Thank you for listening to me.
Thank you very much, David. Okay. Do I have questions from the floor? Councillor Kenny.
Sorry.
I'm not going to ask you why you've, well, I suppose I should ask you why you've gone for Trynance.
Big feet.
Obviously, we've known you for years.
We have.
What inspired you to join the town council now?
That's a good question. I think the big change lately has been the what's going on in the big wide world, and what I've just said in my presentation there, the population growth, particularly in this town, and with greatest respect, I don't think it's a big ask for this chamber to keep up with it all, and I think there's a lot of constraints, but I think with and I'm not being arrogant, but I think I think it needs a lot of, it's future plan. Needs to be some serious future planning, and that's why I'm here. I think I can, as I said in that presentation, I think I've got some skill sets that might be useful to help future plan, future proof. The lady before me mentioned that, and I think unless we do that, I think it's just going to be bumbling along and try to catch up all the time.
You're going to find it frustrating that a lot of the growth is outside our parish boundary. Shouldn't be, but it is.
I think it has an impact on the town itself, though.
No, it does.
That's my point. Yeah. Yeah.
Are you still in the property business?
Yeah.
The property
Just still my
development
property business. Yeah.
So you're not worried about having any conflict?
Well, I would declare conflict. Yeah, absolutely, always. Yeah.
Any other questions? And just to note, we are in fact now the largest town in Cornwall, aren't we?
Just about. Just been.
Yeah,
that's just
absolutely. In fact, I was on the radio
Yeah.
last week talking about
exactly,
it.
and it's just going to get really big as well.
Some might say we need a boundary review, Councillor Kenny.
I think.
Sorry, Councillor Adlam, you had a question.
Yeah, it's just about your interest in the property development.
Yeah.
Can you just expand on that a little bit?
What I've
are
done?
you still in property
Yes,
development
I am.
now?
Yeah. Yes, I am. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
What can
So
you expand on?
I'm more residential. There's different developers do different things, but I'm more residential, and I'm more small, very small projects, up to 10 units typically.
Right.
So I'm not a house builder.
Okay.
I'm just a small what I get called a boutique developer, basically.
Right.
So I'm developing right now the Callicliff above Lusty Glaze Beach. If you know that, that's my project. I didn't do the planning on that. I inherited the planning, so we're just building what was consented there.
Okay.
So and we go through all the correct procedures, and it's a high-end. It's more of a high-end product we do.
Okay, thank you.
That's right. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you very much,
Okay.
Mr. Cole. If you
No
want to take a seat, and I'll take the next one on the list, which is Justine Taylor, and I believe the clerk is going to read out Justine's contribution.
Thank you. I will do my best, but I apologise. I've got hay fever, so that's kicking in. So apologies if I stumble. So this is from Justine. My name is Justine. I'm standing because I think volunteering to be a councillor is one way I can be useful. I'd like to help look after the things that matter to people, our community, our coastline, and the day-to-day life of the town. I want to do my part to help keep Newquay a place that feels good to live in now and in the future. About me, I'm a director of a small organisation called Not One More that works internationally to support human rights and protect forests. I can't be with you this evening because I committed to supporting one of our partners from Guinea-Bissau, to meet funders in London this evening. At Not One More, most of my work is behind the scenes. I'm good at admin. I specialise in things like HR, managing risk, resolving conflict, and making sure teams run well. I also do a fair bit of fundraising, which has taught me how to work within budgets and think practically about resources. I'm a beginner surfer, and I really enjoy being terrible at it. In town, I volunteer with Newquay and Bloom, and I'm also one of the folks founding Clean Sea Newquay, a local campaign for cleaner, safer water. I care about how we look after the places we share. Thank you for hearing me out. All the best, Justine.
Okay, thank you, Andy. Obviously, we can't ask Justine any questions, but we will move on to the next potential character, which is Daniel. You want to come up to the microphone? Even would be helpful. Thank you. That's great. Super. The floor's yours.
It's on. Hello.
It is on.
My name is Daniel. I am from Newquay, you're probably going to hear from a lot of people. I've applied for either the Tranance or the Whipsett Area Board ward. I'm from Treloggan, classically. Went to St Colin Minor School, then went to Treferris. Lived in Dale Road for 18 years, and after leaving Truro College, had to go. I apologise. Had to like didn't find anything here that was sadly for me, and then I had to. After a time of living in the big city, I enjoyed Bristol for some time, but this is my home, but I could only do. There are some people that leave the county and they're able to go, and they will never come back. They don't hold that love for it. I could do 6 months at a time. Otherwise, start getting the shakes, because it's too in town, too busy. Didn't enjoy it. I needed to go home. A friend of mine says to me, it's time to come home. I got a spare room. This was about 5 or 6 years ago now. I am a politico. I'm sorry. I apologise. I'm a painful question time watcher. It has come to the point of my life where it is now put up or shut up. And I'm not very good at, I'm very good at shouting at the TV screen, and then not very good at reapplying into what you would actually want to do to help the system, to help your town and so on and so forth. And that's why I came here tonight. I saw that this was up for co-option. A number of my friends said, you know, if there was ever a job in the world that you should be doing, it's being a councillor. So I applied, and I wrote that down in my application and sent it in. And here I am. Professionally, I work in customer service. I did that for 10 years. I've worked in supermarkets, I've worked in call centres, I've done admin, I've done all those smaller roles. In the last 2 years, I have a congenital visual impairment that has now reached the point. I'm 34. It's now reached the point where it's affecting me deeply. And in the last year or so, due to operations, but the left and right, this eye doesn't work, this eye has very little left in it, I found myself with an incredible amount of spare time and saw this opportunity, so I applied. That's where I'm at. I've been going up to the Orchard. I enjoyed the Orchard. You said about the 10th year anniversary. I was amazed it was 10 years. I've seen it grow. I've seen it go from polytunnels to what they have now, which is just fantastic. Otherwise, I'm here to help. I'd love to do Tranance or Whipsodary. Whipsodary, I walk the coastal path. I live just by the Barrowfields, so I go up around that route and I do the coastal walk there quite regularly. You might see me armed with a litter picker. I'm one of those people. It annoys me. So I've got a litter picker in a bag. I just go around and pick it up. That's the best thing about living in where I live now, is that it's got the big biffa bin. So I can bring it all back and just chuck it in the biffa bin. It doesn't bother me. Otherwise, that's me. I would love to recommend for Traralgon, Tranance Garden, the skate park, all of it. I love it. All Whipsodary, the coastal walk, down Morgan Porth, all of that. Wonderful. I'm here to help.
Thank you, Daniel. That's really helpful.
Thank you.
Questions? Councillor Kenny? Do you want me to ask the question for you, Councillor Jacobs? Yeah. Do you have any political affiliations other than screaming at the TV when question time's on?
That is my political That's my political affiliation. It's a this kind of motion. No,
you and me both. You and me both.
I'm an independent.
You're an independent, okay. Councillor Kenny.
Looking at your form, why isn't a political registered as a local government elector for the parish of Newquay? Am I looking at the wrong form?
I'm not sure. I apologise.
This seemed to be a bit unlikely, and it's actually leading forward. It's actually now leading on to my next question, because I think you're doing fantastically with your eyesight. There is a lot of paperwork that you have to read on this council. Have you got a sort of computer support so that you can get the documents onto so you can actually see them?
Yeah, actually, anything that's paper handwritten, can't see it. anything that is digital, I can invert. So actually my vision stops me from being able to read, well, like this, white paper with black text. But black paper with white text, I can see kind of well. So those kind of inversions I can do on a computer. I have a machine at home actually, it's like a, Eyesight, Cornwall Insurer gave it to me. It's like a, sorry. It's like a, it's a camera on a screen that you just pop it under and it converts things for me. Those kind of accessibility, I've had it for so long. It's just part of my life.
A voice translation thing as well. You know, does it read it out to you occasionally?
Sometimes I prefer that. I prefer it. I'm a better listener than I am a handwriter for sure. Your gentleman downstairs that was signing me in found that out. I'm like, name here, date here.
No, I can't manage that form either, and I
couldn't see it. So like, it's half and half.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? No? Okay, so I'll move. Thank you very much, Daniel.
Thank you.
Are you all right to return to your seat there? I will invite the next one on the list, which is Rebecca Wilton. Yeah, okay. Before we let Rebecca speak, can I just extend the meeting by half an hour, as the meeting is due to finish at 9. Clearly, we're not going to get through that at 9, and I'd really like the extra time to be able to listen to everyone and have the opportunity to question everyone. So, so I'll propose that. Seconder, Councillor North, all in favour? Thank you. Okay, Rebecca, the floor is yours. Thank you for coming.
Thank you. Is this on? Yeah. Okay. So, hello, and thank you for the chance to speak this evening. My name's Rebecca Wilton, but everyone calls me Becky, and I'm passionate about strengthening our local community. I'd really welcome the opportunity to contribute as a co-opted member of Newquay Town Council. I grew up in Newquay. I've raised my children here who are now adults, and my parents, who are still active and part of the community, are also a little bit older now. They wouldn't like me saying that in public, but they are getting a little bit older. So I feel I've experienced life here through many lenses and different stages. And that lived experience gives me a real sense of empathy and understanding for the challenges facing different generations in our community. In my day-to-day role, I'm Deputy CEO of RSPCA Cornwall branch. I lead on the strategic development, income generation and community engagement there. I oversee education, volunteering and outreach programmes that support people and obviously animals across the county. I'm also a trustee and sit as the co-vice chair for the Cornwall Voluntary Sector Forum. It's a charity that brings together voluntary, community and social enterprise organisations across Cornwall. It helps ensure the voluntary sector has a voice in local decision making, shares resources and good practice, and helps champion collaboration between local charities and community groups. Before moving fully into the charity sector, I ran a business here in Newquay, and I later founded a certified B Corp. So I understand both the pressures and potentials of small businesses and social enterprise in a town like ours. Those experiences have shaped my commitment to inclusive, sustainable solutions that genuinely respond to local needs. Throughout my career, I've brought strong business acumen to everything I do, from managing complex budgets and capital projects to identifying new income streams and ensuring transparency and accountability. I know how to balance ambition with realism, and I would bring that same pragmatic, values-led approach to council discussions. I've also worked on partnership projects focused on youth well-being, mental health, social justice, and community resilience. And I believe local councils can play a powerful role in shaping thoughtful, compassionate policy that really improves people's lives. If co-opted, I'd be proud to serve as a councillor and bring a constructive, grounded voice to the table, one that values integrity, inclusion and long-term impact. Thank you for considering my application.
Thank you, Rebecca. I'm Councillor Jacobs' question.
Was that the one, which ward?
The political party.
I am a member of the Green Party.
Thank you very much. Councillor Kenny, I'm just going to come to you.
Out Shrewsbury Road, is that actually in Trinance, isn't it?
I think it is.
Yes. So that makes
there
sense.
you go.
Very good. Any other questions from the floor? No, everyone's satisfied. Thank you very much,
Thank
Rebecca.
You for your time.
Thank you. And we'll move on then to Nigel May.
Okay, well, first thing is I'm very impressed because I've never been to this place before, and there's been some good speeches there, but I'll do my best.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
What I would say is tell a friend.
Tell a friend?
Yeah, get them to come along.
Well, anyway, good evening.
Welcome.
I'm Nigel May, and I've been a plumber by trade and a taxi proprietor. I started life at St Column Road, 7 mile up the road, and went to Indian Queen School. I moved into Newquay in 1971 with my parents, who bought a guest house in Bury Road. And then I went to Crantock Street School and on to Tethurus and finally Newquay School. I left school in 76, and after numerous loads of jobs, I met a guy called Derek James, and he offered me a job being a plumber's mate. So I started my own business my business as NJ May Plumbing and Heating in 1993, after 14 years with Derek. At the same time, I bought and became a proprietor driving a taxi after becoming a proprietor after driving for 4 companies. I met my wife in Newquay in 1983 and married in 89. I have 3 children and very proud, after 42 years, we're still living together, life in Newquay. That's enough about me, but about Newquay, I love living here in Newquay and can't imagine living anywhere else. I've been so lucky to have lived and met my wife, raised my children, and here in Newquay. I want to get involved and give something back to the town, and being able to offer time to the Newquay Town Council appeals to me a lot. I'm a good listener and respect different opinions. I would love to be a part of a team for the good of Newquay. And that's it. Not so good as the others, but...
No, that was very good. Thank you, Nigel. Do you have any political allegiances?
Independent.
Independent. Anyone have any questions? You what, sorry? Oh, right.
If you had a choice, would you prefer to be a member for Trinance or Whipsnade?
Like I put on the forum, I put the 2 ticks because, you know,
no preference.
I live at Tethurus,
Yeah.
and Trinance is just down there, and Whipsnade's up there, so it wouldn't worry me. I'd like to be a councillor in my own in Tethurus, but that's already gone, so.
Very good. Any other questions? No? Thank you, Nigel.
Okay.
Please take a seat, and we'll go to the last, and I'm sure by no means the least, Richard Barker. You're a Cornwall councillor, aren't you? I've seen your face before. Are you a Cornwall councillor?
I am.
You are?
Giving
I
the
thought
game away.
I thought I'd seen your face somewhere in County
Yeah,
Hall.
you're
Yeah.
giving the game away.
Please, your floor's yours.
So I'll start my story at the end, which hopefully answers some of your questions. So my name is Richard Barker. I'm standing as a candidate for Trinance. So the interesting thing that happened to me on the 2nd of May was I got elected. I stood for Reform UK, which answers another one of your questions. But I'd been working with the community a couple of years before, and I think for Councillor Kenny's sentiment, I'm not partisan in a forum like this or within the parishes, and I think that's really important. And I make you a promise I will never talk about politics after these next few minutes. So is that okay? But why did I do it? I started working with the community, and what was lovely on the election day, if you ever have that, is there was a core of people that just voted for me. Yeah. So they may be aligned to other parties, but they voted for what I did. And I live just outside the boundary. I'm at St Newlyn East. And I set up a business a couple of years ago doing camping, glamping, and we run events, and I raise money for charity, and people got to know me that way, so which was nice. So anyway, that's the end of the story, and probably why my application came in last. I think it's safe to say Newquay's the missing piece for me in terms of just I spend a lot of my time here. You know, I do conduct business here. All of my constituents use the resources here. I'm in and out. If you find out what it's like to be Cornwall Council, you realise you're a voice for the people, and the voice doesn't stop. There's people contacting you all the time, and there's some big heavyweight projects that we're looking at, like 85 bus routes, Cubic Crossroads, A30 snagging. They're all things that impact us, and we're aware of. But who am I? You know, where do I come from? I was born in Birmingham. I moved to Brighton, spent an awful lot of my time there. I think I had an epiphany when I was about 37, something like that. It's called divorce from husband number one. I met another chap, and we set up a community company in London. We moved to Camden. I worked with Islington Council then, which was interesting. And we became a partner for Islington Council, and we developed 4 cafes, 4 training cafes for people with learning disabilities, youth offenders, so did a lot of youth work. I saw the problems that I think that you have in cities, which you can't even begin to work on. Countries and the countryside and towns are easier gigs. You've still got the same problems in the towns, but I sort of cut my cloth there in terms of community work. We built that up to 23 staff, and we employed about 150 people over the 5 years it was operating. So, and that was a CIC. I moved to Sussex briefly before coming to Cornwall. I worked in parish level, so I understand sort of parish responsibilities. And I moved to Cornwall 8 years ago, which is my forever home. I've got an estate house, which are within estates. It was a wreck when I got it, and they've given me a long lease on it, but it's a place to be shared. And I've got, I think it was, we must be a 4th year's trading there, but essentially I'm used to members of the public coming into my space and doing what they do and leaving. So, you know, Newquay's the same, but much bigger. It's dependent on a tourist trade. We're awash with it for quite a few months a year. It seems to be, season seems to be extending. Most of the people that I meet are absolutely wonderful. I think if you're prepared to glamp, you probably are. But there's an element of that which is quite toxic as well. So, you know, and I understand some of the problems really that we have in the centre here as well. But the majority of the people that come and visit our county are great and very welcome. My background is in telecoms, so I've got good corporate governance. I work for one of the top 100 companies in the UK as a senior business manager. They've given me, because they're such a great place to work, they've given me some time out to explore my alternative career in council, which is a privilege. So all of the things that come with there is how to manage big projects, make a big impact, and manage people. Yeah, my passion is, I think, you know, my journey started at 37, and personal development is everything for me, starting with therapizing myself and then spinning out and having more altruistic goals. I'm 57 now. I've had a reasonably interesting life, probably not the one that I expected, but it's you know, my time in life, it's about what you do for others essentially, and these are great platforms and forums to do that. The impact is really on community. As the world changes, we need to get kinder. and pull people together and include everybody, you know, and that's the important thing as life gets hard for everybody, and that's why we're here ultimately. Anything else that I need to disclose? I think that's probably it, but I'll welcome your questions and hopefully I'll get a chance to work with you in one way or another.
Brilliant. Thank you, Richard. Well, Councillor Barker, I should call you, really, shouldn't I? So thank you very much. And you've answered Jess's question. I'm sure Joanna got a question. I'm going to ask a question. Maybe I missed it. So you're a Cornwall councillor for St Newlyn East.
I am,
and Cuba and
Crantock,
Gunhaven.
Yeah, and I'm all over that in terms of, you know, they look at me and
sure.
Because of the partisan thing, I don't sort of, it's I've been welcomed
sure.
and I'm making an impact.
Yeah. It was less about politics and more of a question of if you're a Cornwall councillor for that area, which obviously is outside of the boundary of Newquay. Why is it that you want to be a voluntary councillor at Newquay Town Council?
It's the missing piece of the jigsaw, really, because we, as I say, this is the focal point for those villages, and the challenges are different, here. So, you know, we don't have the crime rates that you would have here. We don't have not that Newquay's got huge social issues, but I've got lots of connections here. You know, a lot of my friends are here. I socialise here. I'm part of the Newquay music community here. I'm most comfortable in Newquay as I am in St Newlyn East, and it feels like I'm drawn here. It does feel like another. While it's extra, there's no reason why I wouldn't, and it seems like a sensible thing to do. And you know, my plan was, if I wasn't elected, then I was going to be all over the parishes anyway, and you might have just had my application come in regardless. So it was really just understanding where I sat. I've absolutely loved the job. You know, I can't say if you do it properly. I think just to take people's issues and be able to be a voice for them, it's just astonishing thing to be able to do for people if you do it right, you know. And it's about principle, you know, for me. It's about, you know, keeping people honest and doing the right thing, and that's why, you know, these are voluntary posts. I think it's important.
Thank you. And on the basis of the first thing that you said about the parishes that rely on the big towns, I'm going to assume that you're supportive of boundary reviews. So you will see me chasing you down in County Hall at some point, along with Councillor Kenny, I suspect. Okay, any other questions? Councillor Kenny, then Councillor Morris.
Are you in any of the parish councils within your division, like St Newlyn?
I've got a very busy diary. I check your diary and it doesn't conflict with any of those. So I cover St Newlyn East, Cubert, Crantock, but I'm also half of Perrin. And then there's St Alan as well, which is Zealand. So, and you know, you just have to be organised. I'm a very organised chap. I get up very early. I don't need a lot of sleep. I go to bed late. And your laptop fills up with all these things. It's about how you manage your diary and how you pull these things together, but you get better at it. And because of the coalition, a council, my focus, I'm a realist. The focus is on the people that voted me in, and that's it. But it doesn't mean that we can't, you know, work on bigger things together. You know, I think it's
the difference between Cornwall Council and the Town Council. Many of them, but one of them is that the meetings here are in the evenings.
Yeah,
you've got no problem with having evenings for whenever the meetings are.
No, that's fine. I've got I check the diary to make sure there weren't any conflicts before, and it seems that you're at different slots.
Thank you, Councillor Barker. I'm going to preempt what Councillor Morris's question was, which is that Councillor Barker has declared that he lives within 4.8 kilometres of the parish of Trenance Ward, which of course runs out to the roundabout at Morrison's. So I believe that was your question. Yeah, okay, perfect. Any other questions? No, thank you very much, Councillor Barker. I appreciate that. If you wouldn't mind taking a seat. And then the clerk will explain the process. Do you need this bit of paper that you gave me? Because I've written all over it. Yeah, we can take a 2-minute break, guys, if we need toilet breaks and stuff. I need 1 minute. Loo. Marco's still in the loo. Thanks, Claire. Okay. Steve. Steve and Marco. Yeah. So we're going to go with, remind me, Whipsodary is Cat.
David, Nigel, Cat.
Got it. Okay, we're just waiting for Councillors Motta, Councillor Slade. Who was sat there? No one was sat there. It's an empty seat. You right there? Oh, you didn't have your badge. Oh, I see. Councillor Wright, don't run off. Councillor Wright, don't run off. Oh, okay. I saw your email about leaving at 9.
It's fine. This needs to be done. Steve's on his way home now.
Right, okay. Here we go. Back in the room. So thank you to everyone in the gallery, all the potential co-optees. It's a real pleasure actually to see so many people put themselves forward for these voluntary town council roles. Let me tell you, it is a wonderful role, and it really does make a huge difference in the community. But it can also be, and I'm going to be really frank with you, a rather thankless role sometimes. So, so thank you ever so much for putting yourself forward, and I know that it means a lot to the community. So Andy's now going to help us understand the process. I understand we're going to vote for a member for Whipsodary, where we have 1 vacancy, and now we have 3 potential co-optees. And then we are going to move to a vote for Tranance, where we have 2 vacancies, and we have, how many is that? 7 potential co-optees. Of course, if you're successful in the Whipsodary, then we will discount you from the subsequent Tranance. Yes, I think that's right. Andy will take you through the process now, members.
Thank you, members. So this is going to be a written ballot. All members should have a number of coloured strips with your name on it. Please make sure it is your name before you start voting. What we're going to ask for is the first vote, which we will do in isolation, is for Whipsodary. With the 3 candidates, simply write on the name, first name and last name if you wish, just first name's enough, on your slip of paper, and Laura will kindly come around and collect them. We will then count the votes. If there is a clear majority, that is the person that will be co-opted. If there is no clear majority, we will knock off the last or the lowest candidate that has got the least number of votes, and you will do a re-vote with the last remaining 2 members. We will do a similar process with Tranance. I don't know if we're going to combine them yet, or whether we're going to do 1 vote for 1 seat and then again, because it depends on the voting numbers.
Yeah.
But we'll go with Whipsodary first because that's simpler. Just to be aware, we're not publishing names in minutes. We have to have names really on ballots for them to be more valid. So that's why your name is on the piece of paper. And we're going to go for the white colour first. Okay.
So members, on your white slip, I feel like a bingo caller or something. This is quite entertaining. So on your white slip, you need to vote for 1 member, or 1 co-optee for the Whipsodary ward, and the 3 potential co-optees are, in order that I've got them on my screen, Catalia Norman, David McCatansney, Daniel, honestly, it's been a long day, Daniel, or Nigel May. So you need to write one of those 3 names. Hopefully you can see them on your screen in front of you. Okay, a few more seconds, members. On your white slip, please. Get those dabbers ready. Yeah. Oh yes, that's a good point actually. Is anyone colourblind? Because I'm conscious that we're... Right, okay. Okay, we're just reviewing those votes. I have to say this is dreadfully more exciting than some council meetings often get. Okay, having reviewed the votes, and thank you all for voting, the successful co-optee is Catalina Norman. Congratulations. Thank you very much. I assume we've got Catalina's details? Yes, good. So we don't need her to leave her email address or anything, phone number? We'll be in touch. Thank you very much. And of course, we know where you work, obviously. Right, so then, on which colour form, please, Andy?
So on the, I believe it's called buff colour.
Buff.
Yes,
that's quite right, yes. Yeah.
But the technical term is buff, apparently. So this is for a Tranance vacancy. We will start with just select whoever you wish.
See where we get to.
Yep, and we'll see if there's 2 clear majorities, then we will double check that members are happy just going with the 2. because there's 2 spaces.
Sorry, given that there's 2 spaces, should each member not get 2 votes? Yes.
Yeah. So only put 1 name on there. Don't do 2 at the time because we won't be able to split them. So 1 name. We will do this process twice.
Okay.
So
that sounds
your
fair.
Preference first, and then we'll
on your buff.
Do you need to say, just remind me?
Well, can we not do the 2 at the same time? So that would make sense, wouldn't it?
It's counting the votes. That's the only.
Or like on 2 separate bits of paper.
If there were 3 wards, we would do 1, 2, 3. So pretend that Trance is 2 wards.
Right. Okay. Okay, that's fine. So in the sorry, as they are on my screen, then on the buff colour, Richard. No, that's wrong. Sorry. Ugh. I'm looking at 2 separate lists. David Cole, Justine Taylor, Daniel. I'm sorry, Daniel. I'm terrible. That's the one. Rebecca Wilton, Nigel May, Richard Barker. Okay, a few more seconds, hand those in. Yeah, sure. So the list of people that you can vote for in the order they're on my screen: David Cole, sorry, David, Justine, Daniel, Rebecca, Nigel, or Richard. Is that right? Yeah, perfect.
Sorry, Chair.
Yes.
Can you just explain why we don't put 2 names together?
I'm struggling to understand that myself.
Is there anyone who can confirm the
main reason being
we're having another vote.
We are having another vote, but there are obviously you might end up with one candidate who got more votes from everyone in the room who doesn't get selected just because they were not put through at the same time because it was a different round. Does that matter that because it would end up that the most popular person in the room may not get the seat just because people randomly put their name forward on the different round?
No, because all the ones
So,
left now.
following the guidance from Calc, so each member has a piece of paper with their own name on it. They then vote for their preferred candidate. The ballots are counted by myself as the clerk, and I will advise on the results, not individual votes. To be co-opted, a candidate needs to receive an overall majority. If you have 3 or more candidates, you will need to repeat the ballot, losing the candidate who received the lowest number of votes until you have a clear majority.
Would that not suggest that you do 2 at the same time then?
This is 2 seats. So we should be at the same time voting for our 2 preferred candidates for the 2 seats.
Okay,
That's
so
much easier.
point taken. Let's just, Andy.
Never get that right.
I think what we'll do, we'll count the votes now and see if there is a clear majority on this first vote. That will give us an indication of who's definitely co-opted. If there's no clear majority, we will repeat the process and we will ask that you put down 2 names and we'll go through that process. I think the problem with having 2 names, we can't separate them very easily for counting votes. So I'm trying to keep piles of names because it's much easier. Otherwise it's going to take me 10-15 minutes to work out who's got what votes.
Right.
That's all. It's operational really.
While the clerk is just counting the votes, can I just propose another 20 minutes extension? We won't take that, but I'll propose. Have a seconder. Councillor North, all in favour? Thank you. Procedures must be followed. No more groaning. Have to get the gavel out, otherwise. Rare that I do that. Sorry, that's my fault. I've misspelt the surname, haven't I? It's because I was reading so many names and I've clearly got them all muddled in my head. I'm happy for you to invalidate that vote if you're not happy. Well, I'm just saying if you're not happy. No, okay. Okay, so we have a clear majority for the first seat on Trenance Ward, and I am pleased to say that the successful candidate is Rebecca Wilton. Well done. Okay, sorry, slightly confusing process. I have to say, I might go back to calc about that. On your green slip then, members, you now have a fresh vote for Trenance Ward, and the remaining candidates are David, in the order they're on my screen. Now you're confusing me, Andy. David, Justine, Daniel, Nigel, Richard. Yeah, but like, because you get 2 votes, you'd want to make sure that your top 2 got in, and the way that you've done that, it wouldn't necessarily be the case, would it? And it's almost like I'm not sure that that is quite right, to be honest. I mean, it's fine. I'm just not sure I completely agree with the process. Sorry. I'm sorry. I'm not causing problems. I promise. And yes, I am causing problems. Yeah. That's my prerogative, Anne. There's a clear majority on both. I see. Wow, okay. Clear majority, okay. Okay, so the second seat in Trenance goes to Justine Taylor. So I want to thank again everyone in the gallery that put themselves forward for co-option. I want to remind you, yeah, let's have a round of applause for all of our co-optees. Obviously, it was going to be tricky with 8 candidates and only 3 seats. Sorry, 1 conversation, if we're all right. And so, you know, obviously, apologies that a number of you didn't get in. There is another vacancy that is coming up in the very near future, as there was a member who was uncontested elected and then resigned without taking their seat. So another vacancy on Newquay Town Council will be forthcoming in the coming weeks. We're just waiting to hear. It's already been, yeah, it's already out there. So so if you haven't been successful this time, please do consider putting your name forward again. Unfortunately, it does mean you'd have to fill out another form. We can't accept the one that you put in this time, but please look out on our social media and our website for that. And once again, thank you for coming. So we'll move on then to item 15, chairman's of the business. I don't think I have any other business. Does anyone else have any other business? Quickly go around the room, scan in. No, okay, fair enough. In that case, the next meeting is on the 3rd of July, 2025, and I call this meeting to close. Thank you.